It's like, oh, this is why he left me, because I eat too much dessert and I'm fat.
Hi, this is Zia, and this is
Kamana.
and welcome to
Holistic Nomads TV,
where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. So today's topic, we are going to talk about Ayurvedic diet to reach enlightenment.
Ayurvedic nutrition for enlightenment and mental clarity.
And mental clarity.
Yeah.
I was telling Kimana of like, can we find other word beside enlightenment, because it might be too woohoo waha for some people, so we come up with mental clarity and peace.
Yeah.
Before we go through the topic today, I'm wondering, is there a difference between the word diet and nutrition?
Technically, there isn't so much. Nutrition can relate to the things inside, diet relates to the practices around, yet in common language, people use diet related to weight loss.
Okay.
So it's why I'd prefer to talk about nutrition, or wellness, or healthy food, or those things, because in many people's mind, diet means weight loss.
Okay, but really diet is just the way
it could be a diet for insomnia, a diet for gaining weight.
Yeah.
It's just a specific way, a style of eating.
Sure. So now the next question is, before we really touch into the topic, I'm wondering, when people think about Ayurvedic nutrition, what's that mean? You know, like this Ayurvedic massage, Ayurvedic this. Now you're just saying everything Ayurvedic. Maybe you can call Ayurvedic baby. But so what does it mean with Ayurvedic nutrition?
Well, it's a big topic on what Ayurvedic nutrition. It means nutrition for your individuality, based on time, season, place, and individual.
Yeah.
And you're adding up all of those things, time of day, the season we're in, the place and the environment, and the individual, based on doshas. So we're looking at the dosha of the time of the day, the dosha of the season, the dosha of the place, and the dosha of the individual. And then we're assessing what to do with that. And then we have another thing to assess the substances, the nutrition, and how we put it together. So one is assessing the person through these 4 factors, and another is assessing the substances and how they might work best for these factors.
That sounds complex.
It can be.
Which is why, for beginners, you're not really teaching Ayurvedic nutrition from the very beginning. What's the reason again? Because you mentioned
the reason I don't teach Ayurvedic nutrition to beginners is because people tend to micromanage. They learn a small part of Ayurvedic nutrition, and then they start building all their principles based on that, such as I'm a Vata body type or something, and then they're building all their nutrition to balance Vata without taking in many of the other factors that are necessary for nutrition, such as time, season, place, individual, and then inside the body, even the most Vata person is much more than Vata.
Yeah.
There's other things to take account of in the body as well.
Yeah, which is why we already made a video about 7 Ayurvedic tips on eating, and that's what you will be more focusing on for beginners when it comes to Ayurvedic eating. It's not merely focusing on the nutrition side, but really on how you eat it.
Exactly, the lifestyle. Ayurveda can be so powerful when it comes to lifestyle medicine.
Yeah.
And there's so much we can apply within the lifestyle, including the lifestyle of eating, that doesn't need to be so individualized.
Yeah.
And this topic is like that as well. It's not nutrition that is so individualized and requires time, season, place, and individual. It's another lens from Ayurveda that is more about what is the general things that create mental clarity, peace, and wholesome actions.
Yeah. One more question. What's the correlation, or is there any correlation between Ayurvedic nutrition and holistic nutrition? Because it's such a buzzword about holistic nutrition.
Well, holistic, I find, because it's a buzzword, is being a bit overused, and therefore it's starting to lose its true meaning. Holistic means to be able to look at the whole and to see things from many angles. So we need to be able, if we're practicing holistic medicine, to look beyond just nutrition, to be able to look at lifestyle, to be able to look at mindset and those things. So true holistic nutrition means that it's not just practicing nutrition.
Yeah.
It's looking at other areas to be really holistic. So Ayurveda is a holistic system which contains nutrition.
As part of it. Okay, so that's all the appetizer.
That's the appetizers. You ready for the main course?
Ready for the main course.
Yeah.
So now we're going to focusing about this concept, this principle from Ayurveda called the Trigunas.
Yeah.
What is the Trigunas?
So the Trigunas are a concept within Ayurveda that shows how creation evolves. It's these three different principles: tri, three, guna, category, quality, and they're like a triangle that comes in and holds time. And as time, creation moves along, it evolves in certain directions depending upon which one of these 3 points of the triangle is dominant. And it causes the creation to evolve in certain directions.
Okay, and what are these?
So these 3 trigunas are Tamas, Rajas and Sattva.
Yeah.
And I'm going to position them as Tamas is down here in my left-hand corner,
Yeah.
Rajas is over here in my right-hand corner,
Yeah.
and Sattva is this point at the top where
Yeah.
the two hands meet. And I'm going to explain a little bit about their qualities and how they influence this evolution, how they guide the evolution of creation. So first we have Tamas down here in this corner, and Tamas is associated with inertia, slowing down the evolution of something. And then we have Rajas over in this corner, and it's associated with change, dynamic, move, speeding up the evolution of something. And then we have Sattva at the top here, which is associated with more of this, I don't need to slow down so much, I don't need to speed up. What's really just the best decision for the whole right now? It's about the harmony that's taking place.
Yeah, okay. So let's put that into practice, this concept of trigunas of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. What example that you can put into real life
Before I get to real life, there's a few other things I'd like to explain about them, and then I've got a few examples further down, if that's all right.
Yep.
Yeah. So first, Tamas is about protection.
Yeah.
It's all of them have a purpose. It's not that one is better than the other. It's that they have a relationship inside the body. And Tamas is about protection. It's about the past sometimes, the things that we might need to protect. Rajas is about the future, it's about desire, it's about the things that we want to move towards. And Sattva is like this present moment, it's associated with a principle called dharma. What is the right action for me, another, and the world? How can I support all of these things evenly and try and make the decision that supports as many of those as possible, me, another, and the world? So understanding these, we can then take the concept to our body. And once we take the concept to our body, I'll then give a few examples. And, So we take the concept into the body, and Tamas should dominate the physical body. This is a form, it has physicalness to it. Tamas is associated with forms and physical things, and the purpose of Tamas is to protect. So we sometimes need to protect our forms. And then Rajas is associated with the sense and the action organs. So we've got 5 sense organs: hearing, smelling, seeing, etc. And in the Vedic system, we also have 5 action organs. So we have like the feet to take us places, the hands. And these 5 sense and action organs, they should be dominated by Rajas. They have desires. The tongue wants to taste things. The eyes want to see things. The feet want to walk and discover new places. The hands want to touch things. All of these things should be dominated by Rajas, this desire and this emotion and wanting to experience things. Yet Sattva, this harmony, present moment awareness, should dominate the mind. And that's what gives the harmony to be able to go, I have a body, maybe I need to protect that, and I have desires and things that I want to experience, but I use this mind in a harmonious way to be able to guide my choices rather than just being pushed and pulled by the things that I'm fearful from and need to protect, or the things that I desire and want to move towards. So it's about creating more sattva to dominate the mind and allowing tamas and rajas to stay inside the body.
So it's like sattva can be helpful with like, oh, I have desire to check my Instagram, and then I know it's bad for me because at the end I just waste my time. And if you have more sattva in your mind, you can be like, yep, okay, I understand your desire, but I'm not going to do that.
But I'm not going to do it. Exactly. We can rise above the urges that are coming through from the senses.
Yeah.
And in order to make that easier, we need to make sattva dominate the mind. If it doesn't dominate the mind, then we tend to not be able to be as clear thinking and easy to choose specific things.
Yeah.
So it shows the sensitivity of our mind and its ability to be able to perceive truth.
Yeah.
So if there is more sattva in the mind, we can more accurately perceive the present moment rather than being clouded by incorrect knowledge or other things.
So which is why that's the purpose of this class, is to empower more people to have that clarity and peace of mind, so that, let's say, hopefully the world can fill in with more people that is having that kind of mindset state, compared to like very selfish, centered ego.
Exactly. That's what this class and this diet is about doing actions which naturally, that effortlessly promote benefit for us, another, and the world. Rather than having to struggle with our will so much, how can we make that a more easy process for your mind and body to do things that are like, yeah, I want to do that, and I don't have to constantly fight against my will to try and find the best decision.
Can we put into practice now?
Now we're ready for some practice examples.
Yeah, so, I like practical things.
So tamas example, we might look at an overprotective partner. And this overprotective partner is like so fearful about their other partner, and they're like, oh no, I don't want you to go out, I don't want you to do this, and don't talk to that girl, and don't do this, and they're really internally fearful about what's going on in the dynamic. And this is that tamas, protection. Yet they're allowing it to dominate the mind to the point where they're like, oh, I'm just lost in this fear of what I need to protect. And what happens is that tamas and rajas, it's very easy for them to polarize back and forth along the bottom. They move back and forth to each other. So this tamas, it cloudens and darkens the mind, and this girl's like, oh, I don't know, I can't perceive truth accurately, and I'm lost in my fears and worries about what's going on. So then, because of that overprotectiveness, we often end up losing the thing. The person's like, oh, I've had enough of this. This is too intense, what's going on. This is not the accuracy of the situation and what's going on. So then the partner leaves, and we go, suffering and torment, and then we propel to rajas. We now have a desire. It propels even more intensely, this desire, because we've been so extreme in tamas. So it's like, oh, cheesecake. I want to fill up this void of emptiness, so I go for a sweet dessert or something to try and fill up this emptiness that's there. And that rajas then leads to, oh, now I'm in tamas again, I'm stagnant, it's heavy, it's like, this is why he left me, because I eat too much dessert and I'm fat, and this propelling back and forward, I'm going to go on a weight loss thing. And so hit exercise, extreme polarization that happens there. Compared to if we had someone that's dominant rajas. Rajas is this desire, emotion, moving forward. So this is going to be like a businessman, and he's super intense about his goals and the things that he wants to do. And part of his goal is to have $3 million and this beautiful wife and family and this house on the beach. So
and the cars.
And the car, the Ferrari, of course, So he's super passionate about these goals, and he keeps pursuing it, but he's so focused on the goal that he's not necessarily looking at the moment and the reality that what takes place. He's doing so much work and overtime to get to this beautiful house and the Ferrari, and yet during that process he loses his wife and partner because he's not looking at the other domains of life. He's so focused on the money and what's going on over here in rajas. So then he ends up in, oh no, my partner. So he's like, oh, I'll work harder and That'll solve the solution, get an even better partner this time. But instead he works so hard and he's not listening to the body. Tamas was the body. He drains the energy resources from the body and ends up in tamas. Oh my God, I need to look at my body again. I've got an illness or a problem inside the physical body. So again, this polarization takes place. Now we have our third example from Sattva. So if someone has a dominance of Sattva, we could say a spiritual guru. A specific example might be Amaji, the hugging guru. She goes around the world and she gives out her time hugging people. We might say, oh, well, that's not so important, hugging people. Yet she also controls and influences lots of money. None of the money is directly hers. Yet she uses it in a way where she's not tamasic, she's not protecting, she just sees it as a resource. She doesn't see it as her ownership. And she's about foundations and all different things. Because of that sattva, she's able to travel all over the world, fly to different places, live in nice environments, have lots of great connections and people. So she ends up with a greater degree of wealth and resources without necessarily having an ownership or identification of one thing. The more sattva we have in the mind-body, the less we're identified as our resources, our money. The more we're identified as the resources, which can be used for myself, another, and the world. We keep benefiting that, and the circle keeps nourishing a virtuous circle of sattva.
Okay. Not everyone is Amaji.
Not everyone is Amaji, yeah.
How you can put that into practice in a real example of normal people to have sattvic quality?
A normal person, we might look at, you're in a village and you're running out of water. It's just been notified that the main tank of water for the village is getting low. And you know you've got a little water tank yourself. And you first, because tamas hits the mind first, it's the fastest to act. It's like, okay, my family, myself, I'm gonna go check my water. And you go home and you realize, oh, your water's great. The first thing is, well, I better protect the water for myself. And then if raja starts to dominate the mind, then it'll be like, ooh, I could sell the water. If I start selling the water, then I'm going to make even more money out of what I own, this ownership that's there. If sattva dominates the mind, or even if we wait for long enough and we just allow a little bit of stillness, sattva naturally comes with time and stillness. And if we allow that, then eventually all people will start to gravitate towards this sattvic perspective. The more meditation, the more stillness, the more of this style diet we may be using, the quicker that process comes to sattva. And the person then goes, oh, actually, well, what I could do is I could share part of the water. It's not like I just give everything away. That's not sattvic either. Sattva would be, how can we make the harmony between all of these things? It's to tell the town, well, this is how much water it is, and I think if we ration smallly, we'll be able to live off this, so we'll be able to portion some of that to you as well. And through that giving, we naturally receive back through various different ways that we don't know. The universe is amazing with its laws of interconnectedness.
So sattva is not merely of like not blind kindness. It's just like kindness that you just give them kind.
It's not necessarily all about giving to others. It's about how can we make more happiness and harmony for everyone. Finding the win-win solution within a situation and trying to evenly add up myself, another, and the world.
Okay, so now let's put that into diet.
Yep.
Like the first question is sometimes and often that I receive from people is how our diet gonna change our mental activities. So Ayurvedically, it is already proven with this Sattvic diet that the things that we eat affecting our mind.
Yeah, I would say that Ayurveda is tradition passed on through many generations. So some people in a medical thing might say, oh, that's not proven just because it's passed on. So if we wanted to go for proof, we'd look at the studies within prisons. And they've done studies within prisons to show that the specific food that they feed the prisoners will influence the amount of fights that are happening, the amount of criminal behaviour, the amount of injuries that go on, and the amount of productivity that the prison does. Because people think, what, they're in a prison, they're doing nothing? No, in almost every single prison, they're working. Yeah. So it improves all of these areas by changing the diet and the nutrition that people are eating. So those studies are really quite interesting to look at, because you have a very closed community where you're able to see it's not because of other influences. This was the one factor that changed. It was the diet, and they can massively see that. I think Deepak Chopra was involved in one study where they gave them a great diet, they showed the increase, they took away the diet, and they watched it drop within 2 days.
Wow. That's interesting. So there's a saying about you are what you eat. In what way Ayurveda disagree and agree about this saying?
Well, you are what you eat is correct. You are what you digest would be even more correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like, because it's become like this marketing hearsay, like if you eat something cheap, you're cheap too, you know?
Yeah.
But Ayurveda is not necessarily in that way.
Not necessarily, but if you eat fresher things, you're fresher and livelier. And
What about if you eat healthy, you'll be healthy? So it's not in that way, because that's what many
people... If you eat healthy, you will be healthy. Yet in Ayurveda, that would include lifestyle, the way you eat. Yeah. It's not if you eat healthy things, you will be healthy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. It's not about just the things.
Yeah.
It's about the thing and the relationship between the substance and me. And how can I make that relationship as harmonious as possible?
Okay. So let's go through the 7 points category of this Sattvic diet that you created at the Ayurvedic school.
Yep.
Can you explain just a little bit about what is Ayurvedic school?
The Ayurvedic school, it's an international school of healing arts, and we work on implementing the Vedic systems and the wisdom within the Vedic culture into modern day applicability. So this 7 principles of a Sattvic diet is an example of that. I've taken the big amount of what's involved in Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and I've simplified it into 7 main principles to decrease and increase.
Yeah.
And there's much more than that within the course, and the manual we go into how to individualize it completely, but these 7 principles are good for a beginner.
Okay. So the first one is the importance of eating food that is fresh, local, and organic.
Yep.
Can you expand further on that?
So fresh, local, and organic means that it's going to be more fresh, meaning more liveliness. The older a food is, the more tamasic it is. The local, then it's going to be supporting our local area and the people around us. Organic means that it's not going to be killing lots of other creatures, and including when we eat it, if there's pesticides and other things, we're starting to kill our body too. It supports the greater area that we're part of. So this would be the first increase principle.
Yeah.
And then it would be opposed by a decrease principle.
Which is?
Which the decrease principle is like processed, imported foods, packaged foods, pre-prepared foods. Ayurveda goes to the extreme that says that actually if it's more than 4 hours old from the time that it's cooked, it's not so ideal to be consumed.
Bad news for the Ayurvedic kitchen. They just need to make everything
so make it fresh all the time. Yeah.
I received a question once from my best friend. Like, let's say in Indonesia, it's not common yet to eat organic thing.
Yeah.
So do you prefer, which one you need to choose? Local but non-organic, or organic but imported?
It's a tricky thing to say. It really depends on the specific substance and the vegetable and how much has gone on. It's why this Sattva, Rajas, Tamas isn't about a fixed thing. True Sattva is about adding up the moment and all the things. So really, in my mind, I'd be like, well, where did it get imported from? What's gone on in its import process? Is it something like broccoli that has a lot of pesticides on it? So there's so many things to add up within that. I wouldn't be able to say a clear cut. I would say, get local and organic when you can, and if there's specific foods that you can't, then just deal with what's there. And
that will also increase the demand, and then there will be more farmers that are interested too.
Oh, absolutely. Local and organic has become so much cheaper in places like Sweden, Germany, Australia, because the demand is high. and now people are growing it, and I think the same will happen in Indonesia as well. It's just going to take time.
Yeah.
People starting to put their dollar in that direction, and then more resources.
Yeah, there's
will
a saying of vote with your dollar or with rupiah in Indonesian.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. Anything you want to add on the first category?
That's good for the first category, most important one to start. Yeah.
The second one, fruits, veggies, and mung bean.
Yeah, so fruits are some of the most sattvic food. They're given from the tree. They're not even harming the tree to be able to take that. Vegetables, moving into the next, we'd still have to possibly destroy the vegetable, like take the whole lettuce plant or take the carrot out of the ground itself. And mung beans are one of the most sattvic protein sources. Now there's a lot of bad press at the moment about legumes, mung beans, and this lectin thing that's going on. Lectins are anti-nutrients that are present in many foods, and these lectins can challenge many people's digestive systems, especially the small intestine and these little finger projections there. If you are cooking a legume very well, then its lectin content reduces or is even completely gone. So it needs to be boiled for a long period of time, and there's certain legumes that are much easier to digest, have lower lectins, and their lectins break apart with heat easier. Mung beans are one of those. So for a long time within the Vedic tradition and Ayurveda, they have preferred the use of mung beans compared to many other legumes. And particularly if you have a sensitive digestive system, split yellow mung beans. Great protein source for the vegetarian or the vegan, very conscious choice of protein.
Split yellow mung bean, basically mung bean who that is already taken off the heart and then split.
Those little mung bean guys without their green coats.
Yeah. This is an example of extreme Sattvic diet. Can you?
So this person take it too far. Well, who knows too far? His own purpose, whatever. Everyone has their different purpose in life. Too far for his body. You know, and he only waited until the fruit fell. He would only eat fruit, and he would only eat fruit once it had already dropped from the tree.
So he's a fruitarian.
He was a fruitarian first, and then he moved towards fruit that had already dropped from the tree. So he'd gone so far into this principle and feeling that he became very sensitive, because this sattva increases your ability to perceive the truth. So he could perceive the truth amazingly.
And also intuition.
Yeah. His intuition, his ability to tell me about things that were going on inside my body, he was really exceptional. Yet he couldn't get in a car, he couldn't go into many places and function in society. His wife and his 2 kids were not so happy about the process after he'd been out on this farm, living on the farm for 2 years, waiting for the fruit to drop. He did a lot of meditation. It's pretty much the only way. If you go a very, 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 very extreme Sattvic diet, like a fruit dropping, then you pretty have to be in meditation a lot and not use the resources so much.
Yeah, okay. So number 3, boiled whole grain.
The next one is to eat boiled whole grains. When we boil up whole grains, they're a quite neutral food. So rice, brown rice, red rice, and Ayurveda would specifically use basmati rice, white basmati rice. And the reason is that it's extremely low in lectins. It's very good at blood sugar level balance. So, yet you can still use whole grains. Again, grains have been vilified lately for their lectin content and other negative proteins. But if they're cooked for a long period of time, you will also break down their lectins. If you use a pressure cooker, then like Indians do, then it only takes 7 minutes to break down all the lectins in a whole grain or in a mung bean.
Yeah. So basmati rice is from India, and then that's imported.
That's imported.
So and then in our daily life, sometimes you will ask me search for local variety that has this long grain. What's with long grain?
The longer the grain, as a generalization, the easier it is to digest. So if it's a legume, the smaller the legume, the generalization, the easier to digest. And with a grain, the longer, the easier to digest.
Okay. The 4th one is oils.
Well, the negative of the boil,
we haven't got to the negative.
Number 3, on the other side to decrease, is flour products and white sugar.
Yeah.
So to decrease flour products, because anything that's been milled into a flour, even if it was a whole grain flour, it's been able to oxidize for a period of time, and that oxidation tends to create stagnation in the body. It tends to create more tamas over time. It's older and white sugar.
Oh, sorry, we missed it then on the number 2, the fruits, vegetable and mung bean. That's the opposite quality.
Opposite of that, there would be meat, fish and eggs.
Yeah.
So these are very expensive sources of protein for the environment and the world. Meat, fish and eggs take a lot of resources out of the world, and they're not the most sattvic protein source to continue with long term.
Yeah. So, question about that, about meat, and then earlier you mentioned about this your friends that is extreme fruitarian, extreme sattvic, and then there's also the opposite is meat eater. Like what I used to do based on the Indonesian government education, you need to eat meats with your meal.
Yeah.
And then so the question is meal is bad then? What Ayurvedic think of meat? Other of this sattvic effect.
Ayurveda doesn't say meat is bad. Meat can be used for medicine, and that's what they really highlight. It's a medicine. It's not a daily food. It's not something that we need to eat. It's only under certain situations that certain people would need to use meat for a medicine for a certain period of time. And if they were using it, it would be soups and stews, broths where they've boiled that meat for a period of time, and you're eating the soup or the stew. It would never be barbecue or a lot of meat at a meal. It would be a soup or a stew, like a khichdi with a meat made into it.
Okay. So we cover 1, 2, 3. Then the 4th one is oil.
4th one is to do with oils. So the oils, we're choosing olive oil, any cold pressed seed, or traditionally they would also use ghee as one of the sattvic oil sources. Now in our modern age, the dairy industry has started to become quite challenging towards the planet. So if we're able to find ghee that's local, organic and those things, then it could be more suitable. Yet I think in our modern age, olive oil, cold pressed sesame oil, these things, coconut oil are possibly more sattvic over a period of time. The ghee may have a nice harmonizing effect on the mind, and again, I would put it under the present category of medicine. I try to use it for certain periods of time as medicine, and my general oil sources would be coconut oil, cold pressed macadamia oil.
Yeah, I love macadamia.
The opposite side of the healthy oils would be the challenging oils. They tend to block and stagnate the system and make us quite tamasic in the mind. Would be deep fried things, hydrogenated oils.
That's like the tastiest thing on earth.
The tastiest things, that's those senses there going.
That's the right.
So what does that lead to? Tamas inside the body, stagnation, lethargy that's there, inability to perceive the truth. Oh no, I have to look after this knee because circulation hasn't been flowing and I damaged the joint. These negative oils tend to block tiny circulation channels in the body. So we've got deep fried, hydrogenated oils, and if we excess on it, we'd also include palm oil under there too. Palm oil tends to aggravate the liver and the gallbladder. If eaten a lot, it's fine in small occasional amounts, but if eaten a lot, it tends to aggravate those areas. And a big one for palm oil is it's not so environmentally friendly.
Yes, totally. So that's number 4. Pillar number 4. Pillar number 5 is?
Around the spices. So what are the things we can use to add to it? So
Chili.
Sattvic spices are going to be on the more neutral, more harmonious, not so extreme. So like coriander seed, cumin seed, ginger, turmeric. These are all cardamom. These would all be in the Sattvic spice category. Whereas the rajasic, desireful spices would be like garlic, onion, chili, intense and strong spices.
Is there any tamasic spices?
I think if you left them for long enough, if they were old, then they would be considered tamasic, that's definitely. And some texts consider garlic to also be tamasic. It's rajasic and tamasic. It's making, oh, I need to protect something and, oh, I desire something at the same time.
Some people might think that, how come spices, that tiny little thing can affect to our mental clarity? But I need to speak from experience here because for the last couple months, I don't know how long exactly, at least 2 months, I stopped garlic. I mean, I already stopped eating chili for like more than 1 year now. And by just stopping garlic, I can feel how much different with my desires. Like Kimana knows how desireful I am with my, sensory organ. Like I want to eat things, I want to experience this. It's all about new experience. But since I just stopped garlic, that tiny little thing that might not seem, much, is actually affecting a lot with my mind.
And again, we're not saying that garlic or onion is bad. We're just saying that excess of it will influence the mind and make it harder to stay in the now and be present and have mental clarity. It's another substance that is medicine in Ayurveda. It's not a daily food in Ayurveda. It's used for medicine for certain periods.
Cool. That's the 5th pillar. The 6th pillar is time of day and season. What's that mean?
So it means that can we try to eat predominantly during the day, that's the simplified one, and not eat so much at night. The later we eat at night tends to create more tamas inside the body mind as we take that in. And then the season is what's happening in the season now. Is there something local that I can eat based on the season? Can I adjust to the season? This is more of a Sattvic perspective of looking how can I integrate with my environment rather than just do what I want, what my senses want. What's going to work best here?
It's really challenging now, isn't it, with the modern world and with the shipping worldwide, things are just so easy. Like you can eat durian in the desert in America now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really important because that also affects with the carbon footprint, which means affecting the world and not just us, but like the another and the world. That's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
So the opposite quality of that
is addictions. Anything that you want to take all year round or every day will fall into that category. It's a repetitive process that the body needs and has a desire for. We'll have to slow down on that.
Okay. Number 7, the last pillar.
Number 7 is in relation to the way in which you're eating. A Sattvic diet would be small portions only to what the body's needs are, which would be different for each person and each environment. Like I was saying, for my friend that's waiting for the fruit to drop, he is mainly meditating. His needs are very low, his resources that he's burning through, compared to someone teaching an event and stage presenting and throwing a lot of energy out. Their resources are going to be higher, therefore needing more amounts of food. It doesn't mean that they need to overeat though. So the opposite side of this would just be overeating, just having so much at each meal and snacking all the time between meals. This would be excess of that, more than the body needs.
Okay, so in regards to that, you give an example of that. What about with army? Like, like they need, it's a silly question. Like a Sattvic diet will make the person more in harmony, more peaceful. But what about those people that has a role in this life to kill others because they need to protect their country?
It might be a little bit more protection, a little bit more tamas. So within the Vedic culture, they had castes. We've probably heard of these: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, like educators, warriors, merchants, laborers. And traditionally, as we go back hundreds and hundreds of years, they weren't a birthright that was passed on to the next generation. They were to do with your role within society. So the Brahmins, the educators that were making the decisions for all of the society, needed to eat a purely vegetarian diet and live a Sattvic life as much as possible.
And even sometimes need to be cooked at home by
That's
their
right,
husband,
as much as
wife.
Possible, cooked by their wife, cooked by someone who loves them, integrating a small amount of influence from the rest of the world and other people's thoughts as possible. Whereas the Kshatriya class, the warrior class, the lawmakers, who weren't doing as much of the decision making for the rest of the society, they were following through on what needed to happen for their family, for their country. There was more of this identification. It was more okay for them to eat meat occasionally. It's still not every day, but it would have been more okay for them. And the labouring class could also eat meat as well. Now, that's not the way it's practiced today in modern Hinduism and that, yet there's lots of evidence to show that the caste system was not a birthright and that different dietary practices were used for them. Some of this comes from a great book by Simon Sikorsky, The 5 Dharma Types.
So in the end, as summary, diet, exercise, everything, category of life ideally needs to be adjusted by someone's purpose in life.
Yeah, it depends on what you're moving towards. If you're not interested in enlightenment and specific mental clarity and helping everyone in the world, then maybe the Sattvic diet is not for you. Yet, I would encourage everyone to at least lean more in the Sattvic diet direction, to be able to control your mind, your body, your senses easier and make the most wholesome decisions. And I'd really like to finish up with a point that comes from one of the Ayurvedic classics. That we've talked about nutrition here, and I don't necessarily think it's the most important area within the Sattvic diet. One of the things that they talk about there is to treat these Trigunas in the mind, Tamas and Rajas, when they dominate in the mind, with knowledge, specific knowledge, restraint, memory, and concentration.
Yeah.
So it's these things, the practices that we do, the way in which we live, talking and spending time with people so they can educate us on better ways to live. It's education and practice and action. They're the things that will build more sattva in the mind. If we're constantly screaming at our partner and using a loud voice, then it's going to build more rajas and tamas in the mind body, compared to if we're in a nice, harmonious relationship, doing more meditation, spending more time in nature. These will be the most powerful effects, and the diet will come secondary to those lifestyle actions.
So that's the 7 pillars of Sattvic nutrition or diet, which basically an Ayurvedic nutrition with a goal to have more mental clarity, peace, and enlightenment. For those who would like to download the A4 chart with these 7 pillars and the opposite quality, like eating meat, eating processed food, you can go to our website holisticnomads.com. There will be a page about free resources, and you are free to download it there. Anything else you would like to add?
It's been great to share with you all. I hope you get a lot out of it, and I look forward to next time.
Cool.
For those who would like to help others heal holistically, or just wishing to have more control in their own self-care, then check out the programs on ayurvedicyoga.com. I brought together some of the world's best health experts, teaching people what I consider to be the 6 most important branches of holistic medicine. Hope to see you there.
Now, theory without practice is wasteful, because hearing leads to forgetting, teaching leads to remembering, and practicing leads to mastering. That's why we will encourage you to leave a comment below and share one learning insight from this video. Also, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you will be the first to hear our future educational videos. And for more resources on health and healing, check out our website holisticnomads.com. There you'll find articles, quizzes on Ayurveda, other free downloads, and our future events and courses. Thank you so much for watching. We hope it's been beneficial for you. Hope to see you next week. Bye.